Let me ask you a question. How would you protect yourself from the unseen? A cross? A prayer? Salt at the door? Maybe even garlic? In January 1883, the missionary James Hannington met a man by the name of Roma. He was king of a fractured African state called Buzinza on the southern shore of Lake Victoria. During their first encounter, the king had covered his body in castor oil, and around him horns had been placed. To the missionary, what he saw was an offensive display of superstition, an overreaction from a heathen king. To me, it was something else. What was that? What were those horns that surrounded him? Today, they call them objects of witchcraft. But what I learned was that those horns were some of the most powerful concepts in the history of the African Great Lakes region. You'll find them in the kingdoms of Uganda, Usoga, Bunyoro, Ankole, Rwanda, Burundi, the highest states of northern Tanzania, and of course, Buzinza. But what was this concept exactly? It was that power could be captured and contained. In the 1960s, a professor traveled to Ankole, a region where the once great kingdom stood in western Uganda. He was looking for a sacred grove where the king's diviners once gathered. When he arrived, unexpectedly, the rain poured. He didn't stop, though. He pushed forward, climbing the hill. But soon, the path disappeared, and somehow, he found himself right back where he started. So he tried again. And this time, something else stood in his way. A snake, and beside it, a civet cat. At that point, there was no confusion. The spirits had spoken. They did not want him there. They did not want to be identified, and they did not want to be studied. The hill was off limits. In this world, nothing just happened. Not the rain, not the path disappearing, not the animals in the road. All of it was caused. Across the Great Lakes, people spoke of those who moved behind the visible world. In Buganda, they were called the Balubale, the gods who hailed from modern-day Lake Victoria. In the West, the Batrezi gods reigned supreme, figures who once ruled a legendary empire known as Chitara. Their names changed, but their presence did not. They did not stay far away. They entered, followed, listened. The dead did not always rest. Those who died far from home wandered through caves, through trees, through abandoned homes, untethered and capable of lashing out. Illness could strike suddenly. Misfortune could follow a man home, and a child could fall sick without warning. Unless something was made right. Others believed that the spirits of great men did not disappear. They returned in the form of animals, a snake that does not run, a leopard that does not fear you. You didn't chase it away, you gave it offerings, because it was not just an animal. In the Great Lakes, nothing was just anything. A rock was not just a rock. An animal did not just stand in your path, and the rain did not just fall at that moment. You were always moving in and out of another world. So, how do you protect yourself from something you cannot see? Ever heard the phrase, fight fire with fire? If it was a spirit that attacked you, then the only way to strike it back was to use one just like it. It takes a spirit to take on another spirit. You could ask for permission, and maybe they would listen. Or maybe they wouldn't. Or you could capture it and bend it to your will. In the 1600s, the kingdom of Uganda was much smaller than it would later become. But what it lacked in size, it made up for in aggression. Under the Kabaka, King Katerega, Buganda began to expand westward into the territory of the kingdom of Bunyoro, then the Titan of the Great Lakes region. One of the places they took was called Usuju, and when they captured it, they didn't just occupy the land, they secured it. Katerega gave Usuju to the Dog clan, not just for the weapons they built, but for something else. Their spiritual power. So, together, the leader of the clan, along with his son, went up into the hills, and on 2 separate heights they built shrines. And inside each one, they placed a horn that carried a name. One was Sisi, the god of earthquakes. The second, Mulindwa. This is what the Baganda called Ejjembe. A presence contained, something placed between you and what you cannot see. Because once you understand that the world is not empty, you don't just pray, you prepare. These horns were not empty. They held something capable of standing its ground against whatever moved in the dark. Which puts Hannington's meeting with Romwa into context. What stood around the king was not superstition. It was defense, a circle of guardians ready for anything that he believed might come from that man. Because warfare in the Great Lakes was never just physical. It was most importantly spiritual. You did not just fight your enemy, you fought what stood behind him. And so every group drew power from somewhere else, from clan spirits, from territorial gods, from forces tied to the land itself, and the Ejjembe was a way to carry that power with you. They were made from horns, fangs, claws, weapons of the beasts of the earth, worn on the body, kept in the home, built into daily lives, always present, always watching. Some guarded the home, like the horn known as Maisho, the eyes. It saw what approached before it arrived. Nothing entered unseen. Others protected the most vulnerable, children. A horn could carry the spirit of a powerful healer, one who even in death continued her work, standing between the child and whatever might take them. And in Busuju, those horns did something more. They drew a line. You see, Mulindwa was not just any spirit. He belonged to Bunyoro, a caretaker of their kings, a remnant of the Bachwezi, and yet his power now stood on Buganda's frontier, facing west. This wasn't just protection. This was a message. We have taken your land, and now we stand behind your God. You could see it as a defense, or something else. A rewriting of the land itself. A new command. A command that says, keep the Bunyoro out. In July 1963 in Uganda, a car struck a cyclist who had suddenly crossed the road. He died instantly, and the case went to court. But after hearing it, the judge ruled that the driver was not guilty. Therefore, no compensation was offered to the father whose son was killed. The matter was then considered closed. Or so they thought. The following year, October 1964, a car carrying 6 men lost control. One of the tires burst and it plunged into the river. 5 of the men drowned. 4 of them were the brothers of the driver, the same driver who had killed the cyclist a year ago. At that point, people began to ask questions. His clan communed and decided that something must be done. So, they consulted a diviner. And he told them that they were under siege. Under siege from whom? The father of the cyclist. Kor, meaning blood feud in Acholi. You see, among the central law of Uganda, a death, whether intentional or not, had to be compensated. And when the court refused, the father was believed to have taken matters into his own hands. So he went west to Bunyoro and acquired something that could answer him. Something that would ensure that those who wronged him would feel his anguish. A spirit. This time, not to protect, but to strike. Realizing that their lives were now in danger, the other clan did the same and launched a counterattack. They went north to Sudan and brought back one of their own. We don't know how this story ends, but we know enough. Because this is where defense changes into attack. While the Lua did not call them amahembe or Ejjembe, the idea was the same. Something was taken, contained, and given a purpose to act on your behalf. Some said when it was buried, the earth would crack like an earthquake. Others said it cried like a chick in the night. And once it was set, it did not stop. In Bunyoro, a man once went to see a diviner. His money had been stolen, and no one would admit it. So the diviner turned to the horn in his possession. Its name? Igondo. And when he called it, it answered. This wasn't a sound only he could hear. Oh no, the man heard it too. Out loud, in fact. The stunned individual looked around the room. No one else was there. And yet, something else was speaking. It told him everything. Who took the money, when, why, that it was a clansman who had picked it up quietly when it fell. And he planned to use it to buy his wife a dress. The man was given a choice. The horn would help him. It would give him medicine, and that medicine would allow him to call lightning from the sky and strike down the thief. But the man was conflicted. He hesitated. So instead, he went to others, and they told him the exact same thing. When he confronted the wife of his clansman, she confirmed it. It was true. Everything. The man stood there with the truth in his hands and a way to act on it. Ultimately, he chose not to. He refused the medicine because he did not want blood on his hands. But the horn was ready. These were not tools. They had their own will. They could be guided, but only so far. Because if you sent them against the wrong person, they could turn on you. Some were said to appear as snakes during the attacks, draining the lifeblood from a household until nothing remained, unless something stronger stood in their way. In that world, you did not need to face your enemy. You could strike them from a distance, quietly and completely. And that is what these horns became. Not just protection, but weapons. You might hear this and think that there's no way this is real. Perhaps. But how would you know? How would you know that what you cannot see has no effect on your life? Until next time, on those who came before us.